Hey everybody, this is Captain Muniz with Nomad Fishing Charters, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about boating safety and regulations on the boat as far as gear and safety equipment. Before I begin, I just want to say that there's nothing more important than being safe on the water. We all want to go out there and catch a bunch of fish and have a great day on the water, but it all starts with safety. If we're not safe, we can't do that. So this is very, very important. Before you go out, you should check the Coast Guard regulation for your size and type of vessel, because the requirements do change. In my case, I'm on a 28-foot center console and I am registered commercial, so I may have slightly different requirements than somebody else. So you should always check the requirements for your specific vessel. All right, let's dive right into some of the Coast Guard required equipment. The most important piece of equipment, and probably the first one you'll ever be asked for by the Coast Guard or the FWC, is your life jacket. Okay, this life jacket is probably the most important piece of equipment. You should have at least one per person, and I always like to carry at least one or two extras. And don't forget the kids. Remember, they're not the same size, and these usually go by weight. These here are commercial grade. They come in different types or classes. This one here is commercial grade. That's got the reflectors, a little bit more heavy duty. You probably don't need this if you're recreational, but again, I encourage you to check your local regulations with the Coast Guard for your particular type of vessel and size. This one's also got a light. You can see there's a strobe light, or you could have it just activate and stay on permanently. These lights are waterproof, and this is a must if you go out at night. In my case, it's required, again, because it's commercial. On a recreational vessel, you may or may not, but it's still a good idea. Another thing you need on the boat is a sound producing device. There are many types. Some people like to use air horns. The only problem I found over the years with the air horns is that the canisters are made of metal and they do rust. And a lot of times when you need them, they don't work. I found the best thing to do is to get a $2 or $3 whistle, which is, foolproof and works every time. Another thing I like to do is keep one of these by the console where I could easily access it at any time. And I also like to attach one permanently to each individual life jacket. That way, in case of an emergency, it's an easier way to signal another vessel. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about flares. Now, there's different types of flares. There's daytime flares and nighttime flares. You should have both on your boat, as well as a pistol to shoot the nighttime flares. Okay, they're right here. These have an expiration date on them, so it's always important to keep up with them and check them at least once a season and make sure they're not expired. Another alternative to the flares is this light from ACR. This actually is approved as a nighttime signaling device. You simply just turn this on, and it's very, very bright. I'll put up a shot here at night that we took so you can see what it looks like at night. This is a really good alternative, and you don't have to worry about anything except maybe switching out the batteries once a year. If you opt for this type of light instead of the flares, you'll need a flag, which actually comes as part of a kit. This is a daytime distress flag. You can hang off your outriggers or up high where people can see it, and it's basically a daytime signal to let others know that you're in distress. Personally, I like to have both. I like to have this, and I like to have my flares. That way there's always a backup. Redundancy is never a problem when it comes to your safety on the water. The next item is a fire extinguisher. Even though on outboard boats a fire is unlikely, you never know, it could happen. So in my case, I'm required to have 2 fire extinguishers. They have a dial on them which you can check to make sure that they're full. You always want to make sure it's in the full position, and these also have to be readily available. Another piece of equipment that's very important is a throwable device. Again, this should have some reflective tape on it in case you're using it at night, and it should have a floating rope. I believe it's 50 or 60 feet. You might want to double check the regulations for your vessel, but this should always be, accessible so that you can have it in case somebody was to go overboard. All right, we've already covered most of the things that are required, again, depending on your vessel. But let's talk about some of the things that may not be required, but you should have, starting with a first aid kit. If you're fishing or diving, accidents happen, so you have to be prepared and be able to help out your family and friends in their time of need. Another really important device that I would not leave the dock without is an EPIRB. Even though everybody carries a cell phone these days, cell phones aren't always reliable out on the water, especially if you're offshore. Many times you will not get a signal. The EPIRB can work anywhere in the world, in any position, any latitude and longitude. All you got to do is flip the switch and set it, and it sends a signal that'll be picked up by the authorities, and help will be on their way. EPIRBs vary in cost, they vary in size, they vary in capacity. Most of the time it's the battery life that changes on them. This one here I believe is good for 2 days. So if I happen to be stranded out in the middle of nowhere, I could activate this, and this will send a continuous signal pretty much for as long as it takes me to get picked up. They also make personal EPIRBs, small ones that you can carry on your body if you're on a kayak or a very small boat. Those are really good. Some are also water activated. You'd have to go into their website. I'll put a link and check them out for more information on the different types of EPIRBs that are available. Other things I like to carry is a spotlight, especially if you're going out at night. A spotlight is a very useful tool. It helps you find channel markers, or if you're in an area that you're not familiar with on a dark night, the spotlight could save the day. Other things I like to carry are these wooden plugs. If you've ever had an issue with a broken line, a broken hose, a broken pump, a lot of times these wooden plugs can save the day. You could actually shove them into that hole, as long as it's round, and it'll clog up that hole and stop water from entering the boat. I've had it happen to me where I've had pumps break in half and you have water gushing into the boat, and you can take something like that and plug it if there's no other way to stop it. You should have safety valves, but sometimes if the damage occurs above the safety valve and you can't get it closed for some reason, that'll be a good way to go. These small little corks also work well. And another thing that I like to carry, and this is the final piece I'm going to tell you about, is jumper cables. Nothing will save the day like a set of jumper cables. I usually keep these inside this dry bag in my console. I haven't had to use them in years, but I know that if I ever have an issue or someone else on the water has an issue, we could take care of the problem with those jumper cables. Well guys, there you have it. I hope you found this information useful, and I hope it'll make your next trip out on the water a lot safer. Until next time, this is Captain Orlando Muniz with Nomad Fishing Charters.